But
Oh
see
yeah.
if you're live. Like, check it out
Okay.
and see if you're live already.
All right. Let's take a look real quick. So I'm gonna go to my channel real quick.
Okay.
Let's take a look here. Okay. Nothing yet. Let's see here. Syncing here. Let me refresh. Nothing yet. Um, said it was connected. Let's see. Okay, yeah,
Awesome.
I'm live. Yeah, I'm live on my channel.
Awesome. 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 Everyone's gonna see us today. We're gonna roll. We're gonna roll.
Good. This is awesome. I'm
Nice.
good.
So basically, the way it is normally, people come around and teach stuff, but right here we're not really sharing screens or teaching a few things. So we'll just get to go back and forth in terms of questions that I've been getting with regards to SaaS, how to approach it. I know you've been doing this for a while. I saw you build a couple pros, so I think you have such a great experience to tap from. So we're just gonna
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're just joining, I know you had me talking to Doc. So, if you're just joining, this is the PaulNocode stream, live stream, and this is Friday, 2 p.m. Every Friday we do this stream. And today I'm with Doc Williams, one of the most amazing person in the no code, in anything that has to do with no code. This YouTube channel is superb. He's a very superb guy, great individual. Doc, what's up? How's it going?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for so having me on the show, man. I'm excited.
Definitely, definitely. I'm so excited to have you. And guys, so today, just like the topic right there, we're going to be talking about SaaS. Yeah, that's what we'll be talking about. Lots of you guys been reaching out to me saying, how do I build SaaS with no code? Is this scalable? I think that's the most important question I've been getting. Is this scalable? What's going to happen to my data? Can I keep it? Can I use it? Can I scale with it? Is it not going to be too expensive? Because we saw Bubble came up with a price hike, and so many persons had to run away to Flutterflow, WeWeb, and the rest. So that's some of the things we're going to be talking about on this stream today. And there's no other better person to hang out with than Duck. Yeah, that's it. No other person.
Oh man.
Yeah. So Duck, I'm gonna just throw you back for those persons who are following us for the very first time. Do you wanna you wanna talk about no code a bit? Like, what's no code to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, just what's no code to you really?
Yeah. So I would say no code is a system or platform that allows you to accomplish something without coding. So, bottom line, you're trying to accomplish something, you don't want to code or do those different things, and that's what you're going to be using no code for. I think that's the most basic way. And then diving a little bit deeper, we can go from there.
Absolutely. There's this bias about people who code, right? Because you refer to yourself as a no code developer, they'll be like, no, guy, you're not a developer. You're too fast.
Yeah, yeah. I get that a lot. I get that a lot. And yeah, and a lot of people will say like discount like no code's not really coding or you can't do anything advanced. And
Yeah,
what I it just depends on like where you want to go. What are you trying to build? That kind of determines like what you can use no code for. But just like coding, there's limitations, there's use cases, there's all these different things. So it allows you to speed up and do so many other things so quickly. So yeah, we can get into the nuances, but yeah, I would just say it's doing things without needing to code, basically.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Even though sometimes, I mean, I think all the principles just look like coding. I mean, you're doing almost everything. You're thinking the same way. You're, trying to process stuff the same way. You're managing your projects the same way. I think it's just, I think it's just super fast and it's easy for people who are visually. I think you're just coding, but you're actually doing so with blocks, visually and not writing all those, plain stuff on the screen.
Yeah, and I mean, and the reason I started with no code when I first started, I tried to code when I was in high school. It didn't work. I have severe dyslexia, so when you're trying to code, sometimes I would miss just a semicolon, I'd miss something, and then I would have all these problems, right? So this allows you to just move a lot quicker visually, if that works for you. And I guess we can kind of talk about it. There's so many AI and other things that will allow you to do with no low code that it just allows you to go. And I like what you said earlier, Paul. You said it's the same way of thinking. Yeah, I mean, you can still use the same principles of learning how to code, how to set up databases, all those things, and then it just allows you to move a lot quicker. So
Absolutely.
I just think that it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely, I think it is too. So let's bring it down to the to people who are looking forward to launching businesses. I've
Yeah.
seen you do that over and over again. So um, let's bring it down. What kind of applications can an individual or a founder build with no code? Yeah, let's just put it in between the kind of application I can build and the kind of application I can build with no code.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a couple things right there. So if I'm looking at the different type of text, things like that, there's a couple things to look at. You can build such as a ride sharing app, marketplaces, a knowledge as a service, games, and very specific type of SaaS. I would say like I think a lot of times when people like hear SaaS, they'll say like I can build anything. It just depends. There's a couple different things, but those main ones, just to name a few, you can really do. I see a lot of times when people are trying to create marketplaces. I mean, they're trying to go
Yeah,
so deep, but you can create so many different things like that with no code. Just to name a few, there's so many others, but I would say those five. Those fives are great. Oh, and then I would say another thing is, but like it's in a different category. If you're
yeah.
trying to build out automation or different systems, you can do it with no code too. But I don't really view that as like an application. It's just like automation. It's kind of in its own little category, if that makes sense. But anything with automation, you can do too.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, for those persons who are joining us for the very first time, so this is the Paul No Code, and we're talking about SaaS today. That's what we're talking about, and I'm hanging out with Doc Williams. So if you have questions with regards to building SaaS with no code, feel free to drop in the chat, and we'll do it to answer it. So right now, as I'm talking to you, Doc, I'm looking at my board. And so I have a couple of things I could build with no code. So I put AI, there is SaaS, there is marketplace, there is anything that has to do with APIs.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are a couple of things that I wrote down myself when I'm looking at a no code project.
Yeah. I mean, oh my goodness. I think there's so many good things. Yeah, especially with what's happening with AI right now. There's so many crazy things that are about to happen, and in APIs, I think it's. I would say that's more of an advanced thing for people to learn how to use no code. But once you tap into APIs, like you're done. Like there's so many things you can be doing with it. So I love that list. I love that list.
Cool. So want to break it. Well, let's take it down a little bit. Now we've talked about these a few things that no code can build and what no code cannot build, and some of the favorite things that you love building with no code. So for somebody who's getting started, because I get a lot of this chart beginners who are getting started with this development. How do you start? How do you get started? What should you even do when you get into no code for the very first time and you're thinking of transforming that idea, the size idea that you have in your head, and you're bringing it down? How do you even start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say first of all, I would think about like why you're using it. What's the point of it? And really start thinking about like your outcome and timeline. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but I think if you don't have those kind of if you don't have those like bearings or those constrictions, then
Yeah,
you run into a lot of problems. So like, are you doing this as a hobby? Are you doing this for your business? Are you doing this to like grow? Like what's the main purpose? And then from there break down like what your skill level is and what's going on. And the reason I would say that is that gives you a more realistic idea of like what you need to do with no code, how fast you need to work and all those things. So it might seem very basic and it might not seem very fun, but like your outcome and timeline, like where do you want to go and the time frame. I can give some examples if you want.
yeah, sure. Go
Oh,
ahead.
by the way, is it possible to share my screen? Is that possible?
Absolutely, the data away. Absolutely.
Okay,
Just go
let me,
ahead and share your screen, and yeah, of course.
okay, hold on 1 second. I'll do it. I'm gonna share right here. Okay, I'm doing this. Oh,
Okay.
there we go.
Now
Oh, we go.
Just waiting for you now. So I think you have to share it. Yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna bring it in.
Cool.
Yeah, so we have
Okay.
that.
Let me zoom in real quick.
Okay.
Let me zoom in. Okay. So if we're looking at this, like I have when we're starting out. So when we were talking about it, let me back up one.
Yeah,
Kind of like what you were talking about, exactly what you were saying. You're like, what can you build with it? I usually have this because a lot of people ask me what kind of tech do they want. I
absolutely.
usually have like what are you trying to pick to build? And then so I have a different selections of what I would do, and then like focusing on this one thing. So the first thing is I would say is like, what's your one main feature you want to like have on your app? Like, is it photo sharing? Is it ride sharing? Is it like
Yeah,
transaction? That's the main thing because so many people want to build apps and they're like, I want to do like 10,000 things. I want to do all of these things. Like, it can only do one thing right now. It can only do one thing. And then from there, I would look at, let me zoom in here. I would look at your next one is what's your skill level? Okay. So like, am I beginner? Am I experienced with databases? Am I
yeah,
in experience with like the APIs? Kind of like what we were talking about earlier. And then looking at the outcome. So like, where am I? Am I doing this as a hobby? Am I building an internal tool for my business? Am I just creating a quick app so
yeah.
I can show people my concept? Am I in a program? Am I creating a project for a client? Or am I trying to create my own business or side hustle? So I would kind of start there first and then move on, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Does make sense. And I like you talk about the skill level. You know, what's my skill level? When I start this stuff, where am I going to? Will I be able to finish this when I get it started? I think that's a very, very important question for a whole lot of person. So this guy on chart, smart, he just said something. He said, how do I get started? No coding style. So I don't know if you understand that question. If you wanna take it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would delve in smart. I would delve in a little bit more, like a no code style. I would want to know more about that. Is it like, say, for instance, a very specific thing that you're known for with no code? Is it a certain type of no code platform? I would want to know a little bit more about this style. But I would say again, kind of like this is right on cue of like what we went through. I would just start out with the basic, like what are you trying to create? What is that one thing? And smart, what is your skill level? If you're just starting out from scratch,
Yeah.
then I would say, okay, let's go into a project. Let's do these things. I like building things that people are passionate about first versus like trying to learn everything at once. Like, this is how you style, this is how you build out a database. Like, I would the next thing I would do is start with a project, and we can kind of talk about that in a minute. But I'm a huge fan of starting with either a template or something like that, and not starting from scratch if I'm just getting started. But smart, in the comment, please let us know more details, and we'll answer your question for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you just said something really great right there. Ability for you to start up with a project and not because you want to just learn no code. So I think that's how people should learn no code. Start building a project, no matter how small it is. And one thing that I love about the whole thing about building project is that you can always sell this project
Yep.
irrespective of the development, how far you've gone. You might have done like maybe one feature, like you said. You can always put it on maybe microns, micro acquire, any of those, and actually sell it. So it's like you're gaining in two ways. You're building and then you're learning, and at the same time, you can always turn it into some sort of maybe a tiny cash flow. Don't know, but I guess it's just some sort of a reward if you ask me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I love what you said. There's micro acquire. There's what it you have Stephen Campbell's, what is it, tiny acquisition, and now you can
Yeah,
even do like no code exits. And that one, I think it's a project you can't go over like $400 or $500. So you can do really interesting things quickly. I just sold one on no code exits, which I didn't even think anyone want. It was a Notion project. It was called no code dating, and someone bought that, and I was like, I just did not even think it was a big enough project for anyone to even want. And
Yeah,
yeah, people are buying stuff all the time.
absolutely. Thank you very much for that. So we
Yeah.
want to get started. Let's go to the meat of this talk, and that's the MVP part of it. Building the
Mm-hmm.
MVP. Now I have a project I want to work on. I have it in my head. I want to work on it. And there's something you said before now. We're going to think of the one feature. So, how do I go as a non technical funder with getting started with building my MVP, my product, my MVP with no code?
Yeah. That's a great question. So this might seem counterintuitive
Yeah,
or like I can't believe you would go this way. Um, I have this framework, but really I'm not building anything yet
yeah,
until I get validation in the market. I'm going to be talking to people to see that what they really want, and then try to get them to pay for something before I start. Like honestly, even when I'm just getting started with no code. And the reason I say that is there's so many times people go down this like rabbit hole
yeah,
of trying to figure out what they're going to do with no code, and they don't have an audience. Now, I will make one caveat. If you're trying to build something for yourself and it's a hobby,
yeah,
just ask yourself certain things. So I'm going to go through these questions, but you should be doing all of these things before you even start building. So it's like, what are you trying to accomplish? If I'm trying to build something for myself where I'm trying to track my own medicine
yeah,
or I'm doing something, okay, that's great. But if I have an audience, I've got to ask them, what are they trying to accomplish?
absolutely.
Where can I go? Right. Um, what is your target demo? What is your target audience trying to accomplish? It could be, hey, I'm trying to buy and sell something, and there's not a place for me to do that. eBay is not the right thing. Craigslist, okay, that makes sense. What does success look like? That just looks like if I'm trying to buy or sell something, the success would look like I sold something, I made money, like the transaction happened, and I gave the person the item. So it's what is that mechanics? What does the end goal look like? That's the one feature that you're going to be building out. Um, does your current system or platform perform an end result? Okay, so that just means why are you going to build one versus like why are you not using Facebook Marketplace? Why are you not using um, eBay right now?
Yeah,
Like, what's the difference for yours? Why do they even need you, right? Um, and is there something similar in the right now? Is there something that you can, is there something that's already existing that you can already use? What makes yours different? And what is it missing? If it's already in the market, what is it missing? So thinking about all of that, those are like the process I would do for the framework. And if I go there and talk to someone
yeah,
and they're like, hey, I love your idea. Yes, I need your solution. I ask them to pay for it first. And the reason I do that is you got to see if people are serious and willing to
absolutely.
pay for it. if they ain't ready to pay for it,
Then
no,
serious.
that's not a business. Yeah, it's not serious. It's not a business. So why are you going to waste your time building all this stuff for people if they're not even ready to pay you? So I would do all of those things before I'm even ready to start building. And then we can go into that phase of like, yeah, building and going to that thing, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That really makes sense. And first I was thinking you were gonna be like, "Oh, choose a feature that you care really about," and then you brought it back home and you said you have to figure out if people are willing to pay for it. Because why are you gonna spend 30 minutes or maybe 30 days trying to build something that nobody want to pay for it? And I also like a point that you drew that you brought up there, finding the alternative, figuring out if people already have an alternative before building anything, like, and asking yourself the why. Why are people not using Facebook? Why are they not using Twitter? Why are they not using other bigger platforms? And that would lead me to my next question here. There's this thing about people who are getting started with building SaaS. So they take a very big platform and they build a tiny bit of it. What do you think about that? They
Mm-hmm.
take like maybe Zillow, like the real estate
Yeah.
platform, and then they get to build like Zeno for Lakewood, or maybe
Mm.
Zeno for LA. You know, they built something like that.
Yeah.
And what do you think about those?
Yeah, and are they successful? You're asking, or like the approach of people should do that for their project?
Yeah,
What do you
is
mean?
it a good business model? You know, just not thinking about
Oh yeah,
anything, just going out there, be like, oh, I see this guy, he's doing like maybe $20 million a month. Okay, he's covering the entire America. How about me? I'll just cover one city, build the same thing. You know, no difference.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
I like that. I think it can work as long as you're passionate about it. The reason I would say that is because you're going to run in so many hurdles and bumps. Just because one person's successful, you trying to take over a local market, it could work. But what I find is a lot of people like, well, it worked for this person over here. I'm just going to do it real quick. And then they're like, oh man, I can't believe this didn't scale just like that.
Yeah,
And so as long as you're passionate about it, I think you could make a run at it. Um, so I would say it's a good starting point. I would ask a couple more things like how could it still be different, or being a little bit more niche, but I think it's a good starting point as long as they're passionate about it. Yeah, I like it.
awesome. So you just said something. What's gonna make it different? What's gonna make it different from the other platform? So I want to ask something. For people who are building with no code, like lots of no code platform restrict you a bit. I'm not saying, some of the popular ones don't, but some no code platform restrict you a bit as to this is what you can build, this is what you cannot build. For platforms like that, how do you stand out? How do you stand out? So like if 10 persons build the same marketplace, we're not the same. I mean, how do you stand out really?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me ask you something. Is it how do I stand out if I'm a no code developer to be on that platform, or are you asking me how those platforms themselves should stand
No,
out?
I'm asking you if I'm a founder and I'm launching the type of product we just talked about, how do I stand out? Because I'm building with the same tools, and sometimes the same
Yeah.
tools,
Oh
same
yeah.
design, same everything.
That's a great question. Okay. So the whole thing I think is really it comes down to your story. So how do people know you, what you do, all those things. So it really comes down to like branding and personality. And I think it also comes down to like how well do you understand the problem, right? So you mentioned the example of like a localized Zillow
Yeah,
for something. If I just say, hey, I'm a localized Zillow and I'm just like doing a copy and paste, that's a good starting point. But if I was like, hey, I used to be a real estate agent, I used to live in this area, this is what's missing on this local area, this is why I'm bringing this tool
yeah,
right here. Like I was in I was in Silver Lake. That's like a section of LA. I know what's going on here. There's tons of properties that you don't even know or don't even know that people are selling. I'm bringing all those properties to you. I used to do real estate for the last 20 years,
yeah.
da 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 da. And then I'm doing content around the topic, and then I have that on my app. I think that's where you stand out a lot of times. There's, like you said, there's so many people that can copy templates, but they're the thing is the more templates the easier it is, the more competition, right? You have more people in the space doing the same thing, so you gotta really, I say it's the story. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a marketplace that I know. This guy, he he only has a marketplace for IKEA. He
Yeah.
understands IKEA because people pay him to go to their house to put together IKEA furniture. That's his entire business.
Amazing.
So he built that marketplace of saying like, hey, I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
I know all the ins and out. I know the entire catalog of IKEA for the last 10 years. That's why you should be going on my marketplace. And I'm like, that kind of storyline, like he built that moat. People aren't going to be able to just break in and do what he does. Like, I would give an example. Like for me, the way I stand out a lot of times is like, I've worked with tons of different platforms and tons of different brands, ESPN, NBA, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, I know my software. Like, I've used more than 400 no code platforms over the last 10
That's
years.
a lot.
So like, you know what I'm saying? So that's like, yeah. So it's like, I'm not the person that knows really deep into like bubble or something like that. But my expertise is like the spectrum or horizontal, not vertical.
Yeah.
So like that's differentiation of like what's happening. So you got to do that with your app. Just really understanding the story. And that's why I said you got to start with your passion. Either something that you love and you might not be really technical, but you have a passion for it, or you had a past experience, or you have a co-founder that's in that industry, then you can take it from there. You can stand out a lot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I like what you said about that guy. I like what you said about that guy being able to stand out based on his past experience and not just like, relying on the two. So maybe he has a tool using the same interface, the same everything, but now he has a different story entirely to tell and he's able to stand out. I mean, I like that part. Then, then now let's just imagine, put yourself in the shoe of a founder now. You're done. You've gone to Bubble, Flutterflow, any of those no-code tool, and you've thought about the idea, you've built it, and now it's time for you to put your chest in the market. That time when the world get to hit you. How do you test? That's the
Yeah.
first question. How do you test? What's the right way to test your product so that you don't get a die, so that you don't get a die or you don't just get to have an attack or even
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So what I would say is I would have a list of 5 to 10 people along the way. I should already be talking to people as I'm building this and kind of just putting out feelers. So as I'm going to build and do all this stuff, I should be telling people like, hey, I'm thinking about putting this out. It solves this kind of
yeah,
problem. What are you interested in all of those things? That's number one. When I'm going to the market, should already have 3 to 5 people. I don't care even if it's one person that I'm allowing them to test it out. But again, before I even give it to anybody, I am testing the pricing. So I'm saying, hey, this is what my solution is for. I think it would be perfect for you. This is how much it costs. And I'm doing the test of cost first. I do not do free. I do not do free trials. I don't do free anything because if you just give it away,
yeah,
you can never test if it's really something valuable. And everyone pays for everything. Like there's nothing away for free. Even if people like social media, it's free. No, they're using you. You're the product. It's not free. There's some kind of exchange of
yeah,
value. So if I'm launching an app, I need to see like, hey, I think this would be a really good thing for you. It's X amount. Are you interested? Even if they say no, I'm asking them questions. Oh, is this something that's not right for you? Am I not understanding? Or if this isn't the right price, I'm asking them, why is it not the right price? And I'm trying to go down that road. So if I'm launching personally, I do a soft launch. I don't launch on Product Hunt or to everyone. I do a very controlled soft launch of a small list of why I should talk to the people. Then I can get feedback. I can learn before I do a launch on Product Hunt. I do a larger launch where I'm doing paid ads or something like that. I need to really have a small controlled section. In 1 second, I can show you the exact script I use for everything if you don't
sure,
mind.
sure. Please go ahead. Take it away.
Okay, give me a second. As I'm doing that, do you mind? There was a question that I think Smart asked. Could you let me know what that question was?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Um, it says, Smart says, I'm a student in a university and I'm trying to get a good grade and I'm trying to learn about how to improve myself by learning no code, by learning how to create mobile apps and websites. How can I meet up using no code technique? That's what Smart is saying. I mean, I think he's saying he has a very busy schedule. Now he's saying, how can I learn no code alongside that busy schedule?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So I would really just say, um, start with write down 3 things that you're passionate about or 3 things that you want to
Yeah.
create. Write it down and then start with no code, learning how to do that.
Okay.
What do you think about that, Paul?
Yeah, of course. I think that'd be great. I think some way I've seen people do this is that they get a create solution for their school.
Yeah, Yeah, I love
So I
that.
think
I
I
love
think
that.
if you are in a university, I think one way to do this is to pick a department, think of a problem right there, and just solve it for that department. I mean, you have like maybe some schools have like maybe 1,000 people in a faculty, so you can think of a faculty or even more, and just solve a problem. I've seen people get to solve a problem for their lecturers. So there's this guy I met him on Twitter. He's solving this problem for universities. You know, universities have so many docs littered everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's doing is that those docs is uploading those docs on. He's doing something for universities who want to upload those docs on LangChain, and then you get to ask, talk to those doc without actually flipping through the textbook. So you get to ask any questions from those documents without actually flipping through the textbook, and it just makes a whole lot of sense. So
Mm,
I think Smart can really think of a solution. It might be something as simple as a directory, It might be something as simple as a
mm-hmm.
directory. Um, it might be something as simple as who's gonna do your assignment for you. I mean, kids run away from assignment so much. Can you come pay me? Maybe like pay me like $5, pay me $10, so I can do my your assignment for you. Some sort of a marketplace. So I just think that it can just go ahead and start for his school, and that's gonna be super awesome. It's gonna be something that you can learn and also profitable at the same time.
I love that. I love that idea. Did you just say LangChain to use that for the AI? Have you been using that, by the way?
Yeah, I've been learning about it. So there's this tool called Flowwise. Yeah, it's called
Mm-hmm.
Flowwise. You can actually, if you do not know how to use if you do not know how to use LangChain just like that, you have to code all those model. If you do not know
Yeah.
how to use LangChain, you can actually use Flowwise to code to build something that's powerful, that's so powerful with AI without actually coding or doing anything. So it's super awesome. You should check it out.
I love it. I love it. Oh, I'm writing that down. I'm doing a whole thing about LangChain, but I hadn't used Flowwise before. I was using I was using Chat GPT to show people, even though you don't know how to use Python, asking it what it needs to do to then bring it over for LangChain in Replit. So that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna
Yeah,
write that
it's
down.
it's
That's
it's
awesome,
super
man.
awesome. I mean, you can actually check it out. It's
Uh, uh,
Flowwise AI. All you have to do is to host it on Rowie or maybe
yeah,
Vassell. Just host it on Rowie. So it's open source. You're not paying a dime. You're just
yeah.
paying for Vassell, and then you can make all those awesome connections and
Oh,
do stuff. It's just
okay.
awesome.
All right. We're gonna have to, yeah. I'm gonna have to have you on my chat. We're gonna have to talk about this. This is to be continued. Oh my goodness, I'm good. Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Oh, one more thing. I love what Paul just said. Smart. If you have anything in the chat, write this down. What he just said. He just gave you a great idea. Because if you're at university, number one, that's a use case. If they start using it for your school, put that as your portfolio that you worked with whatever university to create something. That's great to get started. I mean, how many people you've got the in right there, man? You're in school. You could have that university as one of your, as seen on this. That could be part of your portfolio. So that's great. Get started. I love it.
Absolutely. It's just going to be a great portfolio as long as you attend university, and I'm sure lots of people know the university. So it's going to be a great portfolio. You're going to have paying users. And I just think with the whole no code thing, with the available materials on your channel, on my channel, I think you can actually spend like maybe an hour a day, and within 3 weeks you should get yourself a product.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so cool. Like, just solve a problem. That's it.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so I'm ready for this next
So
part,
let's go.
kind of like what we were talking
Sure.
about. So this is what I said. This is part of. So I have this whole thing. It's called the Brand Factory OS, but this part is like MVP Clarity 10-day planner. How you can start selling and actually making money with your app within 10 days. So the part two, we kind of talked about it, but number one, I would write down 5 to 12 people by name and why each person on your list needs your help. So you notice I'm not saying just telling them I have an app. I'm telling them that I'm just going to give them something to change their life, right? How I can help them. Then part two, I'm going to go out and give a solution to a problem you see right now and try to sell a solution to the person. So you notice I'm not using the word app. I'm just telling them solution.
Absolutely.
Then this is what I'm just saying. And I can say this, and if you notice, it's as long that you can send a text message. You should not be writing long emails. It should just be a text message because people don't read long emails doing too. So it should be as long as a text. You should be able to send a text or an email. And this is what you're going to tell them. You're going to say, hey, whoever you on your list, hey, Tom, hey, Paul, how are you doing? I've been working on X and I thought of you because bam. Now this is flattery, and this will get anyone's attention because you're telling them I'm working on a new LA marketplace. I'm working on a new LA whatever. I thought of you because the first line is that shows that you care about them, and people love flattery and they love hearing about themselves. So if you're saying I thought of you because of this, they're just like, go on. You just talked about me. Yeah, I'm interested. I want to hear more.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's the first line, and then you're just saying this program is designed to help you X to achieve your Y. So it's really specific. And you could say this solution is designed to help you to do this, to get that. If this is something you would be interested in, let me know. And the reason you're just doing that and you're trying to get the yes, no, you're not trying to get them to say, I'm willing to pay for it. You're just seeing if they're interested at all. And if they say, yeah, I'm interested, great. I can deliver this solution. This is how much it is. And the reason I'm still going through that process is I got to see if they're willing to pay me. If they're not willing to pay me, I'm not sending them my app. I'm not going to send them anything because I need to see if they're willing to pay. Now, I don't care if you're getting only $5 for them, $1 from it. You got to, that's not the point. You even got to see if they're serious. Because what I see a lot of times, Paul, is people will do all this work and someone's like, yeah, you know what? That sounds really cool. Let me know when that app's finished. Let me know when that's finished. It's finished. Then you give it to them and they're like, yeah, I don't have the money for that. Or, because people aren't going to be on it. They don't want to hurt your feelings. A lot of times when even people that you don't know, acquaintances, friends, a lot of times people will not tell you the truth unless you put a price tag in front of them. So You're saying, I'm doing this. You know what? Hey, I just built this whole thing for you. You just told me a second ago that this is something that you could use, right? You already told me yes. Yeah, I told you that. It's $75. It's $15. It's $5 a month. It's whatever. But if they're not willing to do that, you need to figure out why before you go to market and launch anything, because that is the main problem where people don't understand. I got upvoted on Product Hunt 1,000 times, but I didn't get any sales.
Absolutely not. It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean a thing. So you got to get paid. That's all. You gotta see. And people are saying, but Doc, I don't have a payment processor. Do you have Venmo? Do you have WhatsApp? Do you have whatever locally that you can use? Get them to send you money to see if they're serious. Then that's how you're ready to go to market.
Absolutely. I mean, I like this point. There's this book I read a long time ago called Mom Test. Have you seen it? It's called Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick. It's an amazing book.
I mean,
what you just said right now is a summary of that book. Like, is a complete summary of that book. The kind of question that you should ask. The book likens you talking to your customer like talking to your mom. So if you're talking to your mom, you're always asking open-ended question because you really want to learn more. And you're saying like, Mom, what do you think about my shoes? You're not saying my shoes is black. Because if your shoe is black, there's no need asking question. It's like you saying my product is good, and so there's no need you asking any question. But when you're asking a customer, what do you think about this problem? How have you been solving this problem? How much have you spent solving this problem? And you'll be like, oh, as a no-code developer, they're spending like maybe $199 a month solving this problem. And now you come to them saying, hey, I'm going to do it for a software for $49 a month. And so they're going to pay. But if they're not willing to pay, that means it's not a problem to them. And there's something that you said that I really love. Anyone who wants you to solve their problem should give you money beforehand. Not afterwards. And I also think, Doc, there's something that as a no-code developer you can also do. Give a lifetime, give lifetime, maybe 6 months, 1 year, sell it for the most atrocious price. Instead of maybe $99, sell it for 29 at the beginning and just make sure people are buying. If they're
Yeah.
buying, then you can figure out a way to keep, taking the price, add a few more feature, pad it on the side, and be like, hey, this is gonna be for premium, this is gonna be for heavenly premium, something like that.
Yep. 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 I love that. I love that. Yeah. I think, listen, I'm not trying to, for the most part, if you're just launching for the first time, you're not going to retire off of this, most likely, right? You got to get the reps in. You got to do these different things. Oh, thank you so much. I'm about to get that book. Thank you. Put that in the chat.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, that's awesome. The main thing is I like what you were saying. If you do it as a discount, you can even limit it. Hey, I really thought about you. You've been here from the beginning to really give me encouragement, to test this out, for me to ask you questions. I'm only going to have this slot for, I'm only going to be selling this 10 of these at this price point. And then you have scarcity. And then everyone knows there's going to be a limit. Hey, I'm only doing this for X amount of time, and then the price is going to go up. And it's not fake scarcity. You're saying this is the beta launch. This is just getting started, and then we go from there. So I love that. What I find is when I say this line, and I'm asking people to go ask them, the biggest thing that people don't want to talk about is it's scary to be rejected. It's
Absolutely.
scary to be rejected. So a lot of people don't do this, or they don't ask the exact question. So it's almost like a safe answer, like, oh, they said they were interested. And I'm like, no. Did you ask them a price? Well, no, I didn't. I'm like, see, now you just failed the whole thing. Now you're not getting deep enough, because it really is. It's not easy to be rejected, but the more you do this, the better you're going to be at. So you just got to start. You have to start asking these hard questions, or you're going to be ending up with mediocre solutions. You're not going to get the money that you deserve and how much you want to make if you're not this direct, and you're not going to have the best product available for your audience or for yourself if you don't ask yourself hard questions. And that's where people mess up.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's very painful when you've spent nights building a product, and the product was rejected by people. But I also think, I think people shouldn't even build product at all at the beginning. They should take your first point, which was go figure out if someone is gonna buy. Like somebody I know will say, "Hey, get out of the building."
Yep.
That's what it's
Yep.
gonna say. It's gonna say, "Get out of the building. Get out." I mean, get out. Like, take your code, take your notepad, get out of the building, and go figure out if this your solution is gonna be good. Because you can't just sit on your desk, code all day, build with no code all day, and think somebody's gonna buy. Because nobody's gonna buy on your desk. They're gonna buy outside the building. So everybody's gonna buy from you. It's gonna be outside your room. So you have to get outside your room to go figure out if people are gonna buy. So Doc, I know it's 45 minutes, so
Yeah.
we're going to overtime a bit now. I want to ask you the last question, so I don't get to take so much of your time anymore.
Yeah.
People complain about scaling no code application. I know you've been there, done that. People complain, and one thing they talk about, like backend, do I have to use Xano? Do I have to use Superbase, Firebase? Do I stick with Bubble Base? Do I stick with all those stuff? So what do you think about, what's your view on scaling no code application?
That's a great question. I think it's a good thing to get to a point where something breaks and you have to expand, right? That means that there's some kind of growth. So I don't see that as being a problem. So I would view it this way. Let's reverse engineer, and where are you trying to go, and how much money are you trying to make before I even need to scale, right? Because if I'm thinking about, I like Superbase, I like, Firebase, using all those things, like those are great. But if I don't have customers, if I don't have all of these things, if I'm not making the money, why do I even need to scale? So I'm looking at how much money do I need to make, or how many customers I'm having that I even need to scale, and then go from there. Because every backend or how to scale,
Yeah,
there's pros and cons on every single one.
absolutely.
I would rather get to, okay, but how many things are you doing that your system is breaking and then going from there. And it's not problem breaking. If anyone looks at OpenAI or look at what happened with ChatGPT, you know how many times when it first like popped off, remember it was like warning, like, or it's overloaded. That's a great thing. You know, you've done something right.
Absolutely.
If it's there, but if not, you know, what's the number? How much you making? How much you doing? And then we'll go from there. I mean, I would go there. I'll give an answer of which one I would prefer, but I rarely see. I see more people that are worried about what they're going to do 1 or 5 years later than their customers right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You just hit the nail on the head. In fact, you didn't even hit it on the head. You hit it on the body. Like, oh. All the way. All the way down there. I mean, that's just the point. That's the point. That's the point. People are too worried about what's going to happen in the future than getting one customer now. Like some guy built a platform, a product with Bubble. You know, Bubble, I think they are free tier. You still have like 150 WU, 150 count, 150,000. Yeah, 150,000 units. And a lot of people haven't even got past the free units, which is 150,000. And now you're worried about 650,000. And then you'd be like, hey, what's going to happen to me if I cross 650,000? Is Bubble going to charge me more? Do you know, Doc, I was checking out this Flutterflow. You know, I kept on getting info that Flutterflow is too expensive. Hey, Paul, I'm going to use Superbase because Superbase charges you like $20 a month for the basic plan. Then do you know that I went ahead and I checked out Firebase? I checked out how much it's going to cost you to have 25,000 users. Do you want to guess?
Okay, yeah. I don't even. How much? Per month?
Per month, yeah.
Ooh. 15, 20?
So I'm gonna quote it. I'm gonna quote it from the website itself right now.
Yeah.
So as funny as it sounds, it's gonna cost you barely $25.
Nice.
Yeah, barely $20 to $25,
Nice.
and that's even a variable. So sometimes it's not gonna cost you up to $10 a month. It just depends on how many active users you use. Because if you have 25,000 people using your mobile application, normally active users is only 5%. Mostly. It's
It's so
only
cheap.
5%. So you're gonna have like maybe 1,250 persons using your application every day. That's the number of active users every day. And so if that thing continues every time, you're just gonna pay only $12.50 to Firebase every month.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is, I'm glad you mentioned this, right? So I did that video about like, the bubble pricing, and it can be a lot for some people, but like, that's the thing. People are overly worried about things that most of the time you should be happy if your project gets to that level and you're like, now I've got to figure it out. The vast majority, more than 90% of everything that you build, it's just not going to happen. Like, I hate it. This happens to me all the time. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've built things with Share Tribe, other things with Marketplace. You know what? My most successful marketplace was using Paperform, which this is a form builder. It's a one-sided market. I just ask people questions, and then I do things on the back end. Like, you don't need to overcomplicate a lot of these things that you're building. Like, simplify. And the pricing is ridiculously cheap when you use these things later on. But like, it's effort and energy you don't even need to worry about. Go get customers, go get
Absolutely.
paid, like go
Absolutely.
make money, and then we can worry about that. There's always a solution. And even if you look at any big time SaaS, they've switched platforms. I did a story about Twitter switched. Twitter was built in one code and then it switched. There's no one platform that is perfect forever. You're gonna figure it out. It's gonna work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to buttress that point a bit, I met this guy on Twitter. His name is Kartik. You should check him out.
Yeah.
He's a very good guy. He's an Indian, tweets about SaaS a whole lot. He's running a $3 million SaaS business. I'm gonna ask you to guess again, but it seems as if you're a genie. So I'm gonna ask you to guess again. Guess how much he's spending a month to run that stuff every month.
Ooh. Can I ask what kind of business it is or no?
Yeah, you can. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what kind of business it is. So It's a product that help you find devs. They just help you find
Ooh,
vetted devs
ooh.
around the world.
Okay. Without noting too much of the details, I think his overhead for just the tech stack is probably less than ooh, 400 a month.
You wish, you wish. Let me tell you, $80 a month. That's how
Ah!
much you're spending.
Oh man, I should have gone with that again. I was thinking it was low, but I didn't know it was that going to be that low. I was thinking, I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Um,
$80. Oh, oh,
super
music to
low,
my
like
ears.
super low. So I mean, I just like that point that you made. Go get customers, stop worrying about scaling. When it's time to scale, you scale. And now it's time for you to worry about customers. Go get customers. So, Doc, any last words? I've extended your time. It's 53 minutes. Supposed to
Yeah.
stop you there at 45. But any last thoughts right here on people who are building SaaS? Any
Uh,
last thoughts you want to throw in there?
no, no. I just say, get started. Paul's awesome. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. He's doing some amazing things. And just start with a project. Get started. Watch this video again. Write some notes and get started. And you know what? I love to see the journey. And if they need anything, let me know. Love to talk to them.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for that shout out. So guys, you want to reach out to Doc. Doc has tons of videos about almost every no code tool out there. So you want to check out his channel. I'm gonna put it in the description below, so you can always check it out. And also, if you're looking forward to getting started as a founder, check out Brand Factory. It's an amazing place for you to, you see all those documents he was sharing. That's from Brand Factory, bro. Everything, you want to go from 0 to 1 in your SaaS business, not 0 to 10, because you're not going to need 10. You just want to go from 0 to 1 immediately. So you want to check out Brand Factory. I'm sure Doc is going to help you get started with that. So once again, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It is 2 p.m. every Friday, 2 p.m. WAT every Friday. You come here. We're always talking about no code, SaaS, how you can make money with no code, and how you can do amazing stuff. So I want to say a big thank you to you guys. Um, how can I get these guidelines on your display, please? What guidelines is he talking about?
I don't know. Maybe it was the thing I showed. In the comment section, don't worry. I'll drop it in. I'll drop it in the chat, and Paul, I'll share it with you too.
Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. So he's gonna drop that doc. I'm pretty sure it's paid anyway, but that's
Yeah,
gracious. Thank you
yeah.
very much,
I'm doing a
Doc. Really appreciate
screenshot
it.
just of that. Screenshot. Yep.
Okay, okay, that would be great. That would be great. Once again, guys, thank you. This is where we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to leave your comment. If you have questions, leave your comment. If you need to ask Doc some questions, check out Brand Factory. Just go there, click on the contact button, and you'll be able to, reach out to him and ask him a couple of questions. My guys, thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much for hanging with me. Really
Likewise.
appreciate you. Thank you.
You too. All right.